people, Softman here, back for another vid. Second part of the Night of Champions results, and I did do this video last night, but it went on a little bit too long and YouTube rejected it, which is why it wasn't up. Good grief. Absolutely nightmarish, but we'll just get on with it. Right. The next match is Kane versus The Undertaker. Now, I think the crowd was quite dead for this because they've seen it about at least 2 or 3 times before. I can remember the first feud when it was at WrestleMania 14 with Undertaker Kane. That was a decent feud because Kane was an unknown quantity after he'd come back in his gimmick. And so it was actually quite compelling and had the Inferno match and everything. So it was actually quite a compelling feud. And then they brought it back and did it at 2000, and you wondered at WrestleMania 20, and you still had that whole thing of, well, is The Undertaker coming back? Here, they're really playing up this this comatose state that The Undertaker was supposedly in. So you have no idea, really. Everything seems like weakened, so they're trying to make Kane out to be this big, powerful entity that's now taken over the role of what The Undertaker was, except he's now completely evil. Also, Kane as world champion is completely weird. He was like champion for a day in the big Attitude Prime era. A day. So it's very, very weird to see him as champion. But the match itself, it was okay. They had done this kind of match. They started off, Undertaker comes out to meet Kane on the ramp. He starts throwing him into these polystyrene columns and everything, and then drags him through into the ring. They had this whole thing, it was like no holds barred. Except no holds barred was like you can use chokes or you can use closed fists, which were, even now, they're properly used. So it's not such of a thing anymore. But in the 90s, that was what it was. No holds barred was that. It didn't mean false count. Well, not false count anywhere, but moves can go anywhere. There was no count out. It was no count. It was a street fight. A street fight is no hold bars plus count out. And so I was like, what? It just confused me. But the actual match itself, if you said it was a street fight, was not too bad, because then they went out into the crowd. I don't think they exploited outside in the crowd that well. They had this whole... basically, they had this whole sound desk thing out there, and they didn't really exploit any of that. It's like, you remember back in Royal Rumble 99, where they had Mick Foley thrown on top of it, sparks went everywhere and everything. That could have made that quite interesting or something. Or if Kane had used his kind of weird, his phenom powers and struck lightning down on it and just shocked Undertaker or something. Actually, that would have looked stupid, but you get my meaning. They could have exploited it a bit better. But they get back eventually to the ring, and Undertaker starts hitting his patented moves. He hits the snake eyes off the ring post into the big boot, and then choke slams him. And you think, okay, that's going to be enough, but it's showing all the Undertaker weakness. And then Kane turns around and tombstones him and pins him. So Kane wins the match, retains the world title, and it walks off. He's like smiling, they have the whole red light up, and he's holding the belt, and he's like really happy, he walks off. Undertaker they have going up the ramp, he's stumbling all the way up the ramp, he keeps on dropping down, and I don't know, I just don't buy this whole comatose state. If it's meant to show that because Undertaker's older, he's going to mess up a few of his moves or something, then possibly that's it. But after watching the Shawn Michaels match at this year's WrestleMania, he's still got it. I don't understand the whole point of doing it, but we'll see. There's got to be some reason they're going to do it. The other thing we mention is the world title situation, because the world title there's the World Heavyweight title, which was the old NWA WCW World Heavyweight title belt, which they've just patented and reused for the SmackDown brand. And really and honestly, throughout this whole thing, they never really talked about that world title, but they absolutely nailed on the WWE title. And they were saying, so this is the most important title in our industry and everything. So if you're looking at that and thinking, well, that world title, they're really trying to section it out and make it look like it's a the secondary world title, which is why I think they are going to unify all the belts back, because actually, and I'm definitely for it, because splitting the brands up kind of worked for a bit, but now it's just gone on too far and it's not really effective anymore. The next match was a tag team turmoil match for the tag belts, and let's say right off the bat, new tag titles, fucking awful. Whoever designed them should be shot. It was like, supposedly I heard a rumor that they were going to give them tag belts to DX, but Triple H and Shawn took one look at them and said, fuck off. That's how bad they are. So they stuffed them on the Hart Dynasty, which is only one of the real actual tag teams in the WWE at the moment. And they're not a bad team, but they need work. But like they say, you've got the tag team belts, and therefore there's not that many tag teams there, so you haven't got really many to feed off of. So how can you have like a compelling division if you've only got a few teams? So they've got this 5-team thing, which they've stuffed a few people together. So you have them and what was it? They come out, Hart Foundation, right at the beginning, so you know title change is going to happen. They're never going to keep the belts unless they want to make the Hart Dynasty look extremely strong. What was it? It was Evan Bourne and Mark Henry. You're like, what team was that? No, they were later on. It was the Usos that came out first. So they had them face off, and the Usos actually beat the Hart Dynasty in the first team. It wasn't even let the Hart Dynasty look strong and then fade out. No, the Hart Dynasty got beat in the very first match of this turmoil. So they have that. Usos come out. Then it's what's his name? Santino Marella and Kozlov, and you're like thinking, that's a bloody weird team as well. It's like, what? But Santino Marella actually had quite a good little flurry there. He was like doing this whole thing. The crowd was really into it. They must have to push that guy better, because he does have his timing and his crowd reactions are so good. It's just he needs to be highlighted back again. I think whatever they did to put him back onto Superstars, and really that was it. You should take him back. Maybe highlight him on SmackDown or something, because he's better than that. They brought that on there. They got eliminated by the Usos. Then it was Evan Bourne and Mark Henry. So you had Evan Bourne and Mark Henry comes out, and then Evan Bourne beats the Usos. Mark Henry really doesn't anything. I'm not understanding why Mark Henry was there. Like Kozlov, actually, to be fairly honest. They did nothing. Why they haven't been future endeavoured, we'll never know. But you have that. And in the final team, you have what's his name? The bloody Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. And you have Cody Rhodes has this whole it's gone on my head. I had this whole set out and everything. Had this whole narcissist Lex Luger. He had the he's gone up my head. But it's all like he's this handsome guy and he has this whole mirror thing he does at the top of the ramp and that. But they didn't do that here, but that's the gimmick. And he's like, Ravishing Rick Rude, that was the guy. And he has this whole thing, I'm just simply brilliant, he can't hit my face is gorgeous, kind of thing. It kind of works, but he has this kind of mirror jacket, which I don't think he uses to the best of his potential. Because you could take that mirror jacket, it's got like a mirror on the back, and he could hang it up on the ring rope, on the corner, like as he's getting ready to match, and then just look at that, and then you can have like the face team come behind him and smack him because he's so engrossed in looking at himself. Maybe something that I just thought would be much better use, just to actually exploit the mirror on his back and everything, to exploit his vainness and everything. But they have that team, and in the end, with all the confusion and everything, Cody Rhodes hits his finisher, and Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, the new tag team champions. It was alright. The matches, they kind of went quite quick. All the falls went quite quick. It kind of felt like you're just going very rushed. And so it didn't feel particularly good. It was nowhere near as good as the Miz Danielson match. But then we get to the main event, which is the 6-man turmoil match for the WWE title. So you have Sheamus come out first, which because he's a champion, that's the whole way it is. It's usually the champion comes out last, but not the way they're doing it today. I suppose he is a heel, maybe that's the way it's doing it. But they have that. Then they had Cena come second, and you thought, well, that's strange. They usually have the big face till last, and you're like thinking that's a little weird. But they really are pushing Randy Orton at the moment. They're putting him as the guy. They've superseded Cena. Maybe because when they both came out at the same time and everyone hated them. Remember the One Night Stand 2 and everybody shat on both of them because they both thought they were shit. I think Randy Orton's come from that moment. He's actually learned how to do a bit more moves, a bit more storytelling, and show a bit more emotion. Whereas Cena, he has the passion but just has no technique. He has these 5 moves, and then they made him in that bloody legendary. It was like teaching the kid amateur wrestling. So it's like, how long are you going to teach him the 5 moves of death? That's it. He knows nothing. I think SummerSlam proved that. Bloody DDT on the concrete and he gets up in 40 seconds. No. Flipping fucking idiot. But I had Edge, Jericho, the guy from Nexus, Wade Barrett, who I didn't even know was British until he spoke and did his promo earlier. I haven't watched Raw or SmackDown in a while. I was like, he's actually British? Whoa. And then you have Randy Orton come out to the big, huge pop at the end. The match starts off with a big bang because Jericho gets absolutely humped and RKO'd in like the first minute of the match. And you're like thinking, wow. You don't know what's going on there, but obviously I didn't watch Raw last night actually, so that's a big point. I'm thinking he must be going on a hiatus soon to sell his book, and he's got a European tour or something coming up as well for Fozzy, so he's probably away for a few months. Next off, you have them squabbling and Sheamus and Edge start teaming up on Cena. After that, Cena comes around, reverses it, FUs Edge, because we're not going attitude adjustment, fuck you WWE PG, and pins Edge, so Edge is out, so that really shows you where they think of Edge at the moment. Basically, Sheamus starts kicking everyone around. Wade Barrett's left out of the ring for long periods of time here because he really can't work. Not work well in a world title situation anywhere. So they're all getting beaten up, and then Nexus run down because now it's like a no DDQ match because it's a turmoil match or something. It's like, what? But Nexus gang team up on John Cena, and then Wade Barrett hits his finisher, which just looks like a setup for like a high flying move. So, you know how it used to be, they used to do that move, they smack him down and then they go up and do like a frog splash or something. That's all his finisher is, it's a piece of shit finisher. And then they pin Cena. The crowd goes nuts because they're like thinking, well, this is not going to be Cena winning again. It's not going to be Super Cena to the rescue again. Just completely kills the intrigue in the pay-per-view. So you're thinking, you've got, but Cena comes out absolutely annoyed as hell, takes a steel chair, smacks the crap out of the rest of Nexus. Wade Barrett gets in the ring, RKO to Barrett, and it's left with Sheamus versus Randy Orton, which is actually quite a compelling feud the way they've got it going. So Sheamus absolutely comes at Randy Orton with absolutely everything, hits him with his croc kick. He's absolutely out. 1, 2, kicks out. Crowd goes absolutely nuts. So he comes around. He's got to go for his Razor's Edge. What's it he calls it? Celtic Cross or something. Gets him set up for it. And Randy reverses it puts it into the RKO, pins him. You have new world champion, Randy Orton. So that was the end of it. It was actually not a bad match, to be fairly honest, but some of the pinfall, I didn't like that Jericho got eliminated really early and everything, and the use of Edge was fairly limited use as well. So apart from that, it was actually a pretty decent match. They have this bit at the end where he's showing off the title. I thought the cameras ran too long. They were like, Randy's sitting there like thinking, shouldn't they have cut by now? No. But alright. That was Night of Champions review. This is Evil Sloth Man.